Listen. If you're seeing the signs, the locked phone, the secret smiles at the screen, the sudden jump when you enter the room, your gut is already screaming what your mind is afraid to admit. Your little girl is in deep. And in this digital age, in deep doesn't mean holding hands in the schoolyard. It means she's one vulnerable moment, one moment of seeking validation, one pressure-filled text away from making a mistake that can't be taken back. A mistake that doesn't just live in a diary under the mattress. It lives on a server. It lives on someone else's device. Forever. I'm talking about her sending a nude. I'm gonna walk you through, step by brutal step, exactly what to do when you sense this danger. Not with anger. Not with lectures that make her eyes glaze over. But with a strategy so airtight, it protects her heart, her dignity, and her future, even when she's fighting you every step of the way. This isn't about being her jailer. This is about being her guardian in a war zone you never signed up for. And by the end of this, you'll know exactly why your current fears are justified, and the precise, actionable method to pull her back from that cliff without pushing her over the edge. So, let's start with the cold, hard reality. Why she's even capable of making this mistake. And if you think it's just about teenage rebellion, you're about to understand the battlefield her mind is fighting on every single day. Picture this. Your daughter, the one you taught to ride a bike, is now drowning in a world where her value is measured in likes, comments, and heart emojis. She's getting direct messages from boys and men who have mastered the art of digital persuasion. They don't call it pressure. They call it trust. They call it a secret just for us. They weaponize the very intimacy and connection she craves. And in a moment of wanting to feel seen, to feel chosen, to feel like she's the special one in a sea of a million other girls on his feed, she makes a decision that feels powerful in the moment and haunts her forever. Here's the brutal truth you need to swallow first. Your anger at her, your disappointment, is worthless right now. In fact, it's fuel for the fire. Because the second she feels your judgment, she runs straight to the only place that offers acceptance. The very person exploiting her. Your reaction can be the final push that seals the disaster. Why? Because in her teenage brain, wired for peer approval and immediate reward, the threat of your disapproval feels distant. The promise of his attention feels immediate and real. Her prefrontal cortex, the part that weighs consequences, is under construction. The emotional, impulsive part is running the show. And it's being hacked by algorithms and predators 24/7. She's not doing this to hurt you. She's doing it because, in that distorted reality, it feels like the path to love, to belonging, to status. She's rejecting your values because, right now, his validation is the currency that matters. And when you come in with a "how could you?" you're just confirming that you don't understand her world. You become the enemy, and she protects the secret with everything she has. Which means if you want to stop this, you don't start with the photo. You start with the void the photo is trying to fill. You start with the psychology. Because here's the paradox. The moment you stop being the prosecutor and become the unshakable, understanding safe harbor, is the moment you gain the influence to actually guide her. So, if yelling makes her lie better, what exactly makes her stop and listen? That's where the real strategy begins. How to be a strategic parent, not a reactive one. Here's the first move, and it's the hardest for any parent feeling this fear. You have to master your own reaction. Not in a passive, ignore it way. In a calculated, composed way. The next time you feel that spike of panic, maybe you saw a suggestive text preview, maybe you overheard a conversation you do not confront. You observe. You breathe. You become a detective, not a dictator. You do not grab her phone. You do not demand passwords in a heated moment. That's declaring war, and in that war you will lose access to her digital life entirely. She will become a ghost with burned phones and hidden apps you've never heard of. Why? Because this creates a pattern interrupt in the parent-child dynamic. She's braced for the explosion. She's rehearsed her lies. Your calm, controlled silence is the one thing her script doesn't account for. Creates cognitive dissonance. Why isn't he freaking out? That's where the crack in her armor appears. But here's the catch. Your calm can't look like indifference. This is where most parents fail. They either go nuclear or they stick their head in the sand, hoping it's a phase. Both are disasters. You need to build a bridge of communication that feels safe. You start talking not about her, but about the world. Casually. A dinner in the car. I read this crazy article about how apps can save photos even after they're deleted. Wild world. This documentary talked about how companies own the data we send. Makes you think. You're not accusing. You're educating. You're depositing information into her mental account without emotional tax. When she sees you're a source of intel about this dangerous world, not just an enforcer of rules against her, two thoughts hit instantly. One, he actually knows about this stuff. Two, maybe I can ask him about that weird thing that happened in my DM. That second thought is gold because it's the start of trust. Now we layer in connection, not surveillance. You have to invest time in the non-digital her. And it has to be authentic. Not a forced quality time interrogation. Find the thing she actually likes. A specific coffee order, a TV show, painting her nails, and just be there. No phones. Your singular focus is her. In those moments, you're not a parent policing a child. You're a person connecting with another person. This builds the emotional capital you will desperately need later. It's social proof for your own relationship. She sees proof that your love isn't conditional on her being perfect. And here's something most parents miss. The power of stories. Your stories. Not lecturing stories. Vulnerable stories. You know, when I was your age, I had this huge crush, and I did something really embarrassing just to get their attention. Felt awful after. When you're vulnerable, she's not just seeing a rule maker. She's seeing a human who also made mistakes, who also wanted to be liked. When the time comes to address the big stuff, you're not an alien from planet Authority. You're someone who gets it. And when the moment comes, and it will, maybe you find concrete evidence, maybe she drops a hint, maybe you just have to initiate the hard talk, you reemerge strategically. Not with, we need to talk doom. You wait for a calm, private moment. You lead with empathy, not evidence. Look, I need to say something that's really hard for me. I love you more than anything in this world. And because I love you, I have this terrifying fear sometimes that someone out there might not see how precious you are. They might try to get you to do things to prove your worth, when your worth is infinite and obvious to me. Has anything like that ever happened? Even a little? You've framed it as your fear, your love, protecting her from them. You've not accused her of being bad. You've positioned her as the potential victim of a bad actor. This is critical. You've given her an honorable exit. She can confess without having to confess to being slutty or stupid. She can be the one who was almost tricked. That's how you turn a potential catastrophic breach of trust into a strategic alliance. And here's the thing. When you pull this off, it's not just about preventing a nude. It's about becoming the kind of parent she tells the truth to when she's in a crisis at 2 a.m. in a college town 5 years from now. You're building a lifeline that lasts a lifetime. I know it's not easy. When you see your child in danger, your instinct is to grab, to shield, to lock down. But in this digital world, that's the very thing that pushes them into the danger, just where you can't see it. You've got to step back from the panic. Not because you don't care, but because you care so much that you're willing to play the long, intelligent game. You're building a relationship so strong, so trusting, so resilient that whether it's this predator or the next life challenge, she knows her first call is home. She knows her validation doesn't come from a boy's phone. It comes from the unshakable knowledge that in your eyes, her value has nothing to do with her body, and everything to do with the brilliant, fierce, beautiful human she is becoming. If this feels like the manual you never got, if this is hitting the fear and the hope right in the chest, then you're in the right place. This channel, Strategic Parenting Jasu, is for you. We're not about scare tactics. We're about strategy. We're about winning the real war for our children's souls in a world designed to exploit them. If you're serious about being that kind of parent, drop a comment with the word guardian so I know you're committed to this mission. And hit that subscribe button, because what's coming next is a deep dive into the exact scripts to use when you have that conversation. The words that open doors instead of slamming them shut. Your journey to becoming a strategic parent starts now.